Okay, good. So I was saying something about the pivot table. This pivot table is very, very, very important because it's one of the important functions. You must know how to manipulate, how to maneuver for you to get your insight as a data analyst. As a data analyst. The major reason we are working, we are doing all this data cleaning, data the sourcing of data and data cleaning is basically to extract insights from the data we have, right? So if you don't know how to extract data from the data you have, the data is as good as useless, right? So we have to know that how do we exactly get information? How can we make a decision from the data? How can we conclude from a data, from a raw data? How can we turn it into an insight, into something that is useful, that can be used for business decision, that can be used to make any financial decision, to cut costs, to know what is in danger and what is in profit. So for us today, that's what we exactly will be looking at. And it is very crucial for us to know this thing. And it is very crucial for us to know how to manipulate everything. So now let's just go into this stuff. Uh, so let me just employee people. Um, So now these are data, right? These are employee data. The one we worked with some other time. So now before the first thing is okay, we have this data. Let's say we claimed it, right? Uh Currently this one is actually raw, it's very raw because I was working with this data this afternoon and I was correcting a mistake on it because someone said the data was not clean, was clean, but I should make it so. So this is a raw data, right? So we are trying to what we are trying to achieve in this class is not data cleaning, but data analyzing the data. So I will not be saying anything about the data cleaning because there's a lot to do. Now what is the meaning of a lot? As looking at this data set. Now as a student, for you to be a student, you have to have a matric number, right? And that's we call it spam looking. Maybe I can just say this. We still do it in SQL when we entered SQL, right? But as a student in university, you have you have a matric number. It's not possible for any student in the university not to have a matric number. So looking at this stuff here, this column here, without having employee ID, I can just know that okay, this person is not an employee, number one, or I should actually refer to the HR. Maybe he or she omitted the employee ID. But normally, assuming I don't know the HR, this type of data I have to omit it because nobody in a company will be there without an employee ID. So this type of data I have to remove it. But in a way, we are not doing anything related to data cleaning today. There's a way we can join this first name and last name. I guess we've done that, right? And okay. So without further ado, let's just do a lot of stuff today. So let me just convert this one to a short date, easy for me. So, let's convert it. Okay, I want to make this thing a table. I want to make it look like a table. What can I do? How can I make this a table? What can you just tell me? Let it be an interactive class. How can I make it a table? Anyone? Okay, yeah, you can just talk.
So you are going to click any cell like you just click. Then we go to the insert tab.
Okay, start.
You can go to the insert tab, yes, and then click on table.
Okay. So now I can see it is asking me my table has errors. I can see it has what they call it. It has highlighted all the data. Looking at this, it has highlighted all the data sets, and I'm actually fine with that. So and I click this one, my table has errors, and I click OK. Now it changes to a standard table, and I'm okay with this now, right? I don't want to change the style. but I feel like I'm okay with this blue color. So I just click off it. So now I can actually name my table, right? To make it more professional, I can actually name this one employee data, but doesn't matter. Doesn't matter, right? So under that insert table too, oh, I'm not supposed to ask you that. I'm supposed to add an underscore. Okay. Now I've changed the name of this table to um employee data. Look under the table name, under table design tab. Whenever you create a table, this table design tab will just be there automatically. Then you can actually change your table name from the left hand side, and you can actually resize your table. You can do a lot of stuff. You can change your table style also. Also, we are not going to all those things today. Okay. Want to ask a question? Someone's asked a question. You can take that in mistake. Okay. So under our insert tab, we have you can see under this table because we've made this a table before, and that's why this table is not clickable now. And I can see by my left, I can see pivot table and recommended pivot table. Now, what exactly is pivot table? Pivot table is just like a small table out of this is the bigger table. This is the big table, right? Now, we want to create a small table when we can easily see the relationship of different stuffs of different values or of different data in our data set. What do I mean by that? Now let's just click this pivot table. Now this pivot table is trying to extract some insights out of the large data sets, right? So it's more like a filter. It's not showing everything unless you actually ask it to show everything. So now it's asking me, when I click on this drop down there, on this drop down of this pivot table, I can see from table orange. Now what does this mean? This means that, okay, do you want this pivot table to take to source its data from this table, from this employee data table? Now I can see from external data source. Or do you want to connect it with maybe if you are working with something with WHO now, and it is, or if you are working as a data analyst, right? In a company, you won't be the only data analyst. Yeah, even if you are the only data analyst, you won't be the only member in the data team. You have data science, you have data engineer, you have data analyst. So oh my god, this can you see my screen? Can you see my screen? I guess from your side, so I guess from your side. People can see it. Sorry. So okay, in the data team, you won't be the only member there. You have a data analyst, you have a data scientist, you have a data engineer. So you not expect the data set for you to be working on the data set alone. The data set will be in a cloud, so to say, in a cloud whereby whereby the data team, the members will be able to get the data to fetch the data from it. So in that case, you use this type of option from external data source because data is not present in the Excel, but it is present in other source. Now we also ask from data model. Now we will be doing this one. It is kind of an advanced part of the Excel. We'll be doing this one later. So we have, let me just click on this pivot table and click on my from table orange. So now it is asking me, select the table. Remember that I've changed the name of this table to employee data. Now, if I had not changed this, the name to employee data, it should have been from A1 to whatever, right? But in a way, this one looks professional, right? You can be like, okay, this actually looks professional, especially when someone is reviewing your work. So you can actually refer to the table and can okay, especially when you have different tables, like you have employee data, you have the HR data, you have the employer data, the CEO's data, the shareholders data. So look, renaming the table make it look professional and yeah, yeah, you'll be due for promotion in just in little time. So now okay, we have table orange. We want to sort our data from this data, right? Good. So we now have choose where you want the pivot table to be placed. Now we have new worksheet or existing worksheet. What does this mean? This means that this pivot table, remember that it is a small table out of this large table. Like it is more like it's more like how do you call it? It's more like cutting. Yeah, it's more like getting something. How can I use that as a representation? I don't want to use that one. That's kind of controversial. Okay, it's more like giving birth. Like it's more like giving birth. You, let's say a woman. Let's say a woman in what do you call lion? That's a woman. That's lioness, I guess. I'm not sure. Okay, let's say a lioness gives birth to a cub, right? So the cub comes from the lioness. So that's exactly what pivot table is. Pivot table is coming from this employee data. Now it is now asking where should I put the pivot table? Should I put it in a new worksheet as we have worksheet one? Should I put it in another worksheet which will be sheet two, or should I put it inside this table? Because I want my work to be organized, I want it to be in a new worksheet. Then I click OK. Now it opens another worksheet, which is sheet 5. Why is it sheet 5? Remember that I've deleted sheet 2, sheet 3, sheet 4, because I was working before, obviously before the class, so I had to delete it when I started the class. So now it is open sheet 5. Now I can just rename this one by just double tapping on this space instead of right clicking. I can just double tap on this sheet 5, then rename this one as pivot table. So now I can see this pivot table. It is on another sheet. But clicking on this anyway, when I click outside, nothing is happening. But once I click inside the pivot table, it shows me something called pivot table fields, right? Now I can see all my column header. Now let's confirm. We have employee ID, we have first name, last name, start date, exit date. Looking at my employee ID, I can see we have employee ID, first name, last name, start date, exit date. Then after exit date, we have title. Then after this one, after exit date here, we have title. So to say you can confirm that okay, these are the column header. Now it is now asking for where exactly what do you want? Now I want to create a short table here. Now let me explain all these things. What they are used for. Now we have let's start from rows, from the word rows. Now rows is the same thing as what we've learned. Now let's say I want this first name. I will left click on this first name, then drag into my rows. Then I pick up. Can you see? Now I can see it. I can see the name is in row. Looking at this, I have April, I have May. Then they are in rows. This is row 4, this is row 5, this is row 6. So they are literally listed in row. But if I drop this one in a column, now I want to change this one from row into a column. Then I'll click on my left click, then drag it into the column, right? And drop. Now I can see that it is in different column now. So I can see April under the column A, May under the column B, C under the column, August under the column C, at Aden under the column D, something like that. So that's exactly what rows is and column. So we now have values. From the word values, it means that where arithmetic operations takes place. Now let's say I don't know if you have any arithmetic um stuff here. Let me check. Any numerical data type. Yeah. Okay, current employee rating. Okay, something like this now. I can just drag this one on inside the value. Then adding it, you can see that okay, I can see the numbers. So values majorly it works for numeric data. Okay, what if I drag this inside the values? If it just count the names and change into what numerical data. So that's exactly what numerical data is. So now let's drag it back to rows. Then what if I drag my first name also to my filter? What does it mean? So instead of listing everything, it will actually list it. It will actually be in what do you call it? Okay, show this one. Let's say let me okay, I will use this one in literally in other things. But for now, let's just say this one. So we have filters. So with filters, from the word filters, it means we are filtering something. Now let's say I have my pivot table, right? Like something like this. I have my pivot table here. Then I'm filtering in that okay, show the information for only April, right? Show the information for only April. So What happened? Okay, show the information for only April. So now I've filtered it down to April. Assuming there's an information here, this information will have been only for April. And that's exactly how to use pivot table. Now let me do Ctrl Z, Ctrl Z, Ctrl Z. Now let's go back to how to do it. Now let's actually use it in real life. Now I've actually prepared some question we'll be answering with our pivot table knowledge. So how can we answer this question? Now looking at this question is more than what it is more complex than what we've been solving so far in this class. We have how many employees have been employed, how many employees are currently in the company, what year did we employ the most employee. Now this one they are like questions you ask a data analyst that okay, how many employees have been employed? It's more like asking if you are in Unilag, you are basically everybody is in university or you are working, right? So at least you've passed through the university stage at one point in life. So it's more like saying how many students has Unilag are admitted so far, all its lifetime. There is a data that can actually say, okay, so far Unilag has had about maybe let's say 2 million students. So we can say, okay, how do we get this data? It is because of the data that has been collected. So that's exactly an insight. Okay, I can easily know that okay, that's 2 million. That's 2 million. So now how many employees have been employed? Now this is my pivot table. Remember that I just click my insert and I insert my pivot table into a new sheet, then I remove the pivot table. That's exactly what I've done. So now the question is asking me, how many employees have been employed? Now, for me to know how many employees have been employed, I will have to count what's the information that will be present for every employee. That would be employee ID. So that means I have to count how many IDs do I have. I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say. Now let's say for me to know how many students I have in the school, I have to count their matric number. So if I have 100 people that has matric number, definitely I know that okay, 100 people, how do you call it? I have 100 students in my class because all of them are followed the registration process. But if we have 101 students and 100 has registered, so it is still 100 students that is still my student, that is my student, because the last one hasn't registered and is not considered my student yet. So in this case, we want to count the employee ID because I think everybody as an employee should have to have an ID. So going to my pivot table, what do I want? I want my employee ID. So I can just drag this employee ID to my values. Why am I dragging it to the values? Because I want a numerical data type. I want to count. If you want to count, it is not like you are listing something. You are counting something and you are hoping to return a number basically. So if I drop it on my values, I can see sum. It is summing it up. What does that mean? That means that it is summing 3427 plus 3428 plus 3429 till it gets till the end. So looking at this 347, 348, 349, 3431, I think I'm actually the one that actually believe this one. So I'll be writing this one 3437. So I feel like they are actually complete. I feel like maybe it's a mistake for me. So let's. So now I don't want some. I want to count the number of employees we've had so far. But pivot table is adding them for me. How can I actually change this? Going to my values, I can see a drop down here. By just clicking at on the drop down, I can see values, value field setting, remove it, move to column, move to row, move to report filter. I don't want to move it to filter. Neither do I want to move it to row, neither do I want to move it to column. But what I need now is the setting. Now I don't want sum because it is on sum now. I want to count. Now by clicking OK, I can actually see that we have 2999. Now remember that I actually changed one employee. Now if I just click on my data, let me click off. If I click on my data and I click on my refresher, I can see it updates towards 3000 because And that's the one thing about Excel is automated because there is not this we now have this employee ID before. We have 2,999 employees without this number row five. But adding this row five and Excel update in real time by just clicking refresher. So it will be like okay, they've added someone. Now if I had five people, let me add five more people. Three, four, five. Let's just say three, four, five, two, three, one. Oh, that's two people adding. Okay. I don't feel I think it's not on the table. But let's check. Now it's still 3,000. I just became refresher. Then we have 3,002. So basically Excel updates in real time by just clicking refresh all. So now I've deleted it to the last two. Then I want to refresh everything again. Now we have 3,000. Now do you understand that part? Can we move on? Mhm. Only one person. So that's exactly now I can easily say my employee, have my employee, the numbers of employee, the numbers of employee employed so far is 3,000. Now, as a data as HR, you already mean that okay, this company has grew up to the point that we've had 3,000 employees. Normally, looking at the statistics, that means that some people will have left, some people will have joined, but at least you've had 3,000 people that has passed through you. That's a good company, actually. It's a very, very good company. So now, what's the next thing? What's the next question I have on you? Now, how many employees are currently in the company? Now, there is difference between how many employees have we had in the company and how many employees are currently in the company. Now, let me break this down. It's more like saying how many students have we have in Unilag. So that's more like let's say that's 2 million. But currently, how many students are in school? That's like let's say 50,000. Why? Because out of the 2 million, almost 1.95 million students have graduated or some have dropped out. So in that case, it is very different that okay, what's the difference? The difference is that even though we've had 2 million so far, we only have 50,000 at the moment. So now looking at this and how many employees are currently in the company. Now you refer back to your data set. How can I get this? How many employees are in the company. Now, one of the importance of understanding data that you are working with, or understanding or having a background knowledge about the stuff you are working with, is it comes into play when you are doing the analysis. Now, you want to know how many employees do you still have in your company? That means that there are some employees that has terminated their contracts, right? And there are some employees that are still working currently, or there are some employees that has retired. So looking at this column area, which one best represents the data that represents the employee that has what do you call it, that has left and the one that has still currently there. Looking at this, first name, it can't be first name, it can't be last name. I cannot know, judging by their first name and last name, who is still in my company and who is not. So looking at this title, it won't be my title, it won't be my supervisor. Looking at the move, it won't be the move too. Looking at the unit, it won't be the what about status? You have like different status. That means you have active. That means that active means that okay, this people are still good, they are still in the company. What about future star? That means it's more like saying, okay, this guy is 16 years old. He is underage, right? But if we start working by the age of 19, so that's like a future start. If you watch ball a lot, even though Lamine Yamal is very good before he even reached 16, right? He was not in the first team because the football age can only start from 16. So that's like future start. So we have leave of absence too, and we have terminated for a cause, maybe for a rape, maybe for fraud. So we have voluntarily terminated too. Especially when you have another good offer from other companies, you can voluntarily try and terminate your contract at a particular company. and we have plans. So looking at this, I can say, okay, this employee status better represent this better. So by just going to my pivot table sheet, I can actually go here and click on my I can go on my this one, employee data, click on my insert, click on my pivot table. Then it's asking me employee data J to J. No, I don't want J to J. I actually want everything. So I have to click everything, control A. Insert pivot table. What's the table range? All the employee data. Is it new worksheet? No, because I still want it in this pivot table. Now it's now extracting worksheet. It's now asking for what is the location of the existing location of the worksheet. Now I have to click on this one. I have to click on this drop down, farm. Then this one, when it is like this, I can just click on this pivot table, then click on this number 7. That's where exactly I want my pivot table to start from number 7. Then I click on this drop down again, click on OK. Then I can see my pivot is starting from number 7. Now, do you understand that part too? Oh, good. Okay.
Sir, please
So
come
now, how
again,
many
sir.
employees?
Can I call again? Can you come again?
Okay. Oh, I'm coming. Okay. So, let me come again. So what I was saying the other time was what I was saying the other time was um what was I saying? Okay, how to get a new pivot table. So I want to get a new pivot table. I've actually exhausted the pivot table here, but I want to get another new pivot table because I want to analyze another thing. I want to solve question, right? So I can just go to anywhere here, anywhere here, count of employee ID. I can just go to my insert. I have to be on my data. I have to be on my data, then click on, I have to highlight all my data because I don't want one. Then I click on my insert, then click on my pivot table. Now it is asking me where do you want your pivot table to source data from? Yeah, to source the data from employee data. Where is it on new sheet? No, not on new sheet. I already have a pivot table sheet already. Now I'll click on existing sheet. Now when I click on notice when I'm on new sheet, there's no cursor. But once I click on this existing worksheet, it starts to blink. Now, when it starts to blink, I can always just click this stuff because I want to reference. Now, if I actually click on pivot table here, it is still going, and I can click on okay. I want it somewhere around this place, and click on okay. It's still the same thing. I still have a new pivot table here. Do you understand? Do you understand now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Someone has a question. Okay, I thought that was a mistake. Okay, what's the next question?
Yes,
Um,
that's a good one. Can
okay,
you hear me, sir?
okay, I can hear you.
Yeah. Okay. You mentioned that we have exhausted the first pivot table. So can the pivot table only answer a question? If we want to use it for another thing, we need to create another pivot table, right?
Yes, sir. Can you answer the question?
Okay, okay. That's interesting.
Okay. So now we want to answer the question, this question too. How many employees are currently in the table? And we've already noted that okay, you can only you should use this what do you call it? This employee status. Now I want my employee status. So if I should click on this employee status, notice that it will go into the it should go into the rows. Now, one thing about pivot table is it is giving distinct counts. What's the meaning of distinct count? It is giving unique values. Sorry, it's giving unique values. I can see we have different actives. We have future smart. So it is working exactly the same way as this one. So looking at this, if I actually put a stop here, We actually put a stop there. So I can see that we actually have a unique value. Even though we have different active, I can see we have like, even from this place only, we have like 10 or 20 or 23 active. But looking at this one, when I click the drop down, I can see active, I can see future start, I can leave of absence, terminated for a course. You know, something like that. It's working like a filter. So that's exactly when I draw it into the rows, I can see that row 14, row 15, row 16, row 17, row 18, they are still, what do you call it? They are still under this pivot table. Now I want to count how many active students do we have. So what will I drag? You can just try. I know so we never do this thing. So sir, I know we haven't done this. So who can try this employee status? You can as well drag it to the values.
The value.
Now when I drag it to the values, yeah, thank you. When I drag it to the values, I can see that okay, my active employees, they are what 2, 4, 5, 8. You understand? That means okay, they are still doing pretty well. Everybody is doing pretty well. So that's exactly what we call analyzation. Now, from this data, looking at this data, you can never tell we have 2,456 active employees, except you actually use this type of tool called pivot table to analyze the data that, okay, we actually have 2,458, and that's an exact and what do you call it, exact data. You can say, okay, we have 2,458, we have features at 69, we have leave of absence, we have terminated for voluntarily terminated. So in this case, we have voluntarily terminated is 321. So as a data analyst, there's no pressing issue, even though there is an issue, social, because 321 should not leave. They voluntarily terminated their course. Does that mean that, assuming this one has been like 1,000 now, and this one has been like 1,500. That means we've lost as much as 45% of our employees. Does that mean that our company's pay is too low, right? Or the environment is toxic, or the work environment is subpar? So these are the decisions you make as a data analyst. If this one has not been 321, because 321 is very insignificant among 3,000 employees, it's more like having a vote in a vote of 1,000 people, and you can only get maybe 2 votes or 100 votes. It is very very obvious that you won't be winning the election. So something like that. So if you have 321 in 3,000 employees, in a way I still feel like okay, it's fine with everybody. But once you have like 1,500 employees that has left the company, and you're only left with maybe 1, 2, 1, 4 companies that are in your company. Now you already know that as a data analyst, you have to know that okay, this company is already running at a loss. This company has a work toxic environment. This company has a bad remuneration to the workers. So all these things is what you have to discuss with the HR, with the CEO, with the shareholders of the of the of the company. Now, do you understand that one too? Do you understand that one?
Chiso, please, can
Can
you
I
come
hear you?
again?
Okay. So, please, can you give me 5 minutes? I want something to explain. Just 2 minutes. Okay, shoot, I'm back. Um, okay, let me explain. Now I'm telling you, I'm trying to tell us how to derive an information from data analysis from examples. So looking at this, as a data analyst, you want to make informed decision, right? But looking at this, you can see from your data set that you are working as a HR, and you can see from your data set that you have active employer, which are 240 and 2,458. Now, if you calculate this percentage, to make this a percentage, you can just do this one over this one, right? And you can see that you have converting this one, you have 82%, like 82% are still in your company. 82% of the employee you have employed, they are still in your company, they are still working. That means that okay, the company is actually doing good. Probably the company is doing well. Probably the share and the environment is pleasing for everybody. And probably there is something people are doing, especially if they are working with something like WHO, NAFDAC, people that actually makes uh, good products or they actually have good service to people. So in that case, you will not want to leave the or if you're working with Chevron now or Shell, all those kind of company that pays well, the work environment, even though it is toxic, if it is toxic, but it pays well, but at least you can retain your employee. Now, what's the effect of this? It is you already know that I don't know if should continue. But you have to know all these things. You have to know all these things. Now, employee, what are we trying to drive at? It's more like if you lose a lot of employees, maybe they resign, maybe they terminate their contract, or maybe they just leave, right? So the only thing you can actually do is employ another employee, right? So it is better to be paying 320,000 for, let's say 300,000 for an employee, or than to groom a new employee entirely. Because before you can actually incorporate a new employee into a company, you have to undergo like 6 months training. So you spend your time, even though you give them money, it might be lesser. Maybe let's say you are giving them 100,000. For the next 6 months, you'll be paying the teacher that will be teaching them, you'll be paying for they are literally useless, you understand? Because they are not working as a employer or employee yet. Sorry, they are not working as employees yet because they are literally useless. They are just there to learn about the culture of the company. But someone that already know the culture, he knows the norms, he knows the and even if it is a skilled person. Sorry, I'm in class. If it's a skilled person, right? Hey, sorry, you did your not up. Okay, okay. So especially if it's a skillful person, to actually replace those kind of employees is very, very tedious, you understand? So if you lose a lot of employees, you already know that something is wrong, something is going on. Is the company going bankruptcy? Something like that, you have to dictate it as a data analyst. But from this data set, I can see okay, the company is doing well. Because I can see that the people that are terminated, they are lesser than 500, right? And I still have like 82% of my employees in my company. So that's like a good percentage. Now, do you understand? So how do I actually get this thing? I click it, I import a private table, I drag down my, what do you call it, employee status. I drag it to my rows because I want to see all the unique values there. I can as well just drag it here. If I drag it to my employee status, it will only count all the total employee status, but I want it to split it into different rows so that I will know how many active do we have, how many future stars do we have. But I just drag this one into my rows, and I can see that okay, under my active, I have 2 4 5 8. Under my future stars, I have 2 9. So looking at this one, you can see this one as my employee that are currently working, then leave of absence. People that are absent here, that probably they're not working here anymore. So looking at this, you understand how I get the process now. But the company is doing well at least for now. So now that's the question. Now, what's the second question? I hope you now have any question on me. I hope I've answered the question. What year did we employ the most employee? Thank you. What year did we employ the most employee? So now let's go. So what year did we employ the most employee? Who can tell me, looking at this data, what do you where do you think you can actually derive that information from? And someone sent a message. Yeah, exactly. Do not share the employee status is invalid and exactly. So who can tell me we have what year did we employ the most employee? Now to get this one, I can actually as well just get it from my start date, because start date means that okay, this is exactly when this employee start to start working in my company. So I can just go to my pivot table. Now instead of going to employee data, control A, go to my insert table, click on pivot table to insert a pivot table. You can as well just copy one of the pivot table, just copy it, control C, paste it on another place, control V, then drag everything up here and drag it up here. What do you call it? How are you not doing it? Okay. So let me just start them and start it. Oh, okay. You know why? Because if I should add this start date here, if I should add this start date here, it is so long. How can I do this? Let me add it in another place. So let me just see. So now if I do control V here, so I can drag it over here. Okay. So now I have a new pivot table and this one is very, very easy and even faster. So start date here. So I can see whenever I click on the dates, it gives me something like this. I can see we have quarters. If I click on this drop down, I can see we have months, something like this. So now I don't want quarters. I don't want to see months. I don't want to see this one. I only want to see the years because why am I dragging them off outside the table? Because I don't need them. In case you need them, you have to like put them in now. If you need month, especially if you want to work with the month, I can as well just remove my year and work with my month. Now I'll count the month that has the oh my God. I'll count the months that has the most. Now I can see that looking at this, I think I think December we employed a lot of employees in December period. Okay, how do I know? Click on this one, then sort largest to smallest. Now I can see I've employed a lot of employee in 271 in December, then followed by March, then followed by July, followed by November, October. Then the last one I've employed is 2022, is June. Now, what's the effect of cleaning data? Now, looking at this data set, actually this data should be represented in 2018, but because there is there's less than year, the data is not clean, right? Assuming it has been cleaned, as I told you earlier that it was a raw data, and I'm not cleaning any data. It is because it is a raw data, and I'm not cleaning data. And that's happening, right? That's actually what's happening, and that's why this one is not part of the stuff. It should be part of this one because you don't want something like this. You want your January to December, something like that. Sir. So let's go back. Let's do it again. So we already know that okay, I don't want the months. The question asks for what year do we admit the most? Do you have the most employee? Do we employ the most employee? So I can just create another pivot table by clicking Control C, then maybe Control V. So what do I want here? I want the if you click on anything dates, it will just give you that thing. Then you will be the one, okay, I don't want quarters, drag it off. Do I want months? No, I don't want months. Do I want start dates? I don't want start dates. I only want the years. Now you now drag it again into the values. Now the values will be counting. Okay, how many 2018 do I have? How many 2019 do I have? Now in this case, let me drag it down so we can see the stuff. So now I can see we have 2018, we have 255. One thing about cleaning data set is because this employee, we actually employed this employee in 2018. And employee this 2018 should have been 256 if it has been cleaned. Now this number is statistically it is wrong. And that's effect of if you not clean your data, you actually get some statistically wrong information. And that's why I said before you can actually analyze any data, you have to clean it. Please, do you understand why now? Okay. So I want to believe not it's not only the two people that understand, Sha. Do you all understand? So actually now looking at this data it is not clean, but we are not going there today. I believe we all know how to replace, just replace, just do find and replace, then replace this one. But actually do it here. I know there is something. So I can just go to my what am I finding? I'm finding lesson on physics, not something. Please, not finding. I feel like for some reason I don't know. We are not going to that also today. Now I'm trying to get attention. Okay. So now we already know how to get 255, 250 something. Now I can actually see that I had a lot of thing now. Now let's represent this thing inside the chart. So this is how to make an informed thing. How do I represent this inside the chart? Just go to that insert. Then I can see if I click on this one anywhere there, I can see I have recommended chart. To my left, I have table under my insert tab. I have table to my left. I've actually told you how to use this table and how to use pivot table. But looking at this place, we have illustration, then we have chart section. I have different type of chart I can use. But for now, I want to use just simple bar charts here. So I can see we have something like this. Now I can see we have from 2018, the company grew up, right? Till 2020, 2019 till 2020, we had lesser employee. 2021, we grew up, the company got larger. Then 2022, the company got larger. But in 2023, there's a drastic fall in the number of employees we've had. Now that will now take us, okay, what caused why do we lay off so many employees in 2023? You understand? Now, this one will trigger you as a data analyst that what exactly happened? Why do we have lesser employee in 2023? Do we go bankrupt? Or is the year still young? Maybe the year is still young. Maybe we only have data sets for maybe January and February, only for February for 2023. Then maybe March, April, May. All the data are not uploaded here. All those things is what you have to search. Okay, what exactly caused? Why do we have this low? We have a big company before. So why exactly? Is it that because of the introduction of AI, is that why we are laying off employee, that we are making everything automated? All those type of questions. You want to get insight, you want to make a conclusion why this thing is happening. Or is it because the company is going bankrupt? Is it because it is the introduction of AI? Is it because the work environment is toxic. You understand? Please, do you understand what I'm trying to do? I just want to reason as a data analyst, and that's why I'm actually very slow now. Yeah, I believe they are not the only people that understand, right? So I believe others are shy. Okay, good. So that's exactly what's happening here. So let's delete this one by just clicking my delete key. Click on my chart because we are not going to the visual aspects today. So that's the so now I can actually tell that we employed the most employee by in 2022. So what's the next question? What year did we employ? How many employees are currently in the company? Oh, I think this one is repeated. This number five is repeated. It's the same thing as this number three, right? So how many job titles are present in the company? Okay. Now looking at this one is quite simple. Now they ask us how many job titles are present in the company. What exactly is job titles? Now in a university we have different job titles. Some people are the students, some people are the trainers, some people are the lecturers, some people are the supervisors, some people are the consultants, something like that. How many job titles do we have in this company? That's what exactly they are asking. So looking at these data sets, I want everybody to concentrate and tell me, okay, this is where we can get this data from. We want to find the job title, right? So please look at the column header and tell me when to stop so I can know, okay, I can find the job title here. Okay, let me start again. So are we ready? Someone messaged me. Someone sent a message. Oh, someone said in the title column. Oh my God. Oh God. Okay. No one said in the title column. So I guess yes, in this title column. Now, you want to say something?
I said that's column F.
Column F. Oh, good. So now I can just create a pivot table. How can I create a pivot table in an easy way? What do we call it? Copy already made pivot table. Control C. Put it in another place. Control V. Right. Then drag it off. So you can just check it off here. So you have your new data set here. Drag this one outside the stuff. Then you have your new pivot table now. So you want to count the numbers of what? Of job title. Now, if I do something like this, where's the job title? Like I guess it is title. If I just click this one, it's going into the row. What do I want to do? I want to count. So if I count it here, so I can see we actually have 3,000 job titles, obviously, because we have 3,000 people in the industry. So I can see that we have 33 accountants. So let's just make sense of this thing. I want to sort. How do I sort? By clicking on anything on the numerical value, then you guys click on it. If I click on any value here, I can actually see my sorts. Then I go to the largest to the smallest. Now I can see we have a lot of production technician. Then the last one, the least company we have is maybe data analyst. They are just 8 people. We have data architects. They are just 5. Actually, you not expect data analysts to be 1,401, 411. Man. So you expect them to be very little. Data architects, they are just 5. Enterprise architect, they are just 5. Usually, it is usually consultant that is usually this few. We have CEO. We have 11 CEOs. Oh my God, this thing must be getting so big. This company is so big. So anyway, looking at this, it looks like a technological company. I don't know. Looks like a technological company. And I can see that okay, production technician. We have 1321 technician one, technician two. So great. But that's not what I want. What I want is how many label do I want? Okay, this production technician, count it as one instead of 1321. This one is one, this is two, this three, this four, this five, this six, this seven. Understand? Count this thing distinctly. Instead of counting, okay, this the number of production technician that we have is 300 and it's 100 and 1,321. I want you to just name it as one. Then count all the labels, all the what do you call it? All the titles distinctly. Okay, IT sales manager, even though they are 30, but we only have one title for them for all these 30 people. Okay, count this as one because I want to know how many job titles do I even have this company. So that takes us to an advanced place. How do I do something like this? Now you have to do control A. Insert your pivot table again, right? To do distinct count is quite different from others, right? Okay, yeah. So I want to where do I want to source the data from? For my employee data, right? So I want new worksheets. So you will not confuse it with pivot table here. I want a new worksheet. Then before you can do a distinct count, you have to add it to the data module. You have to add it to the data module. See, I click it. Then I click on OK. So now I want my title. Now I'll show you the difference between the two. Where's the title? So I want to drag it to the numerical values. So I can still see 3,000. But once I click on this drop down, right, then I click on my values feed setting, I can actually see distinct counts now. Then if I click on OK, then I can see that OK, we actually have 32 job titles. That means we can only employ employees with 32 job titles, right? Now this is what I want. Now going to my pivot table. Remember that when I was creating this pivot table, I did not had any, what do you call it? I not had any I not take the data module box. So now let's click off this one. So I want to see it. I can see we have 3,000 titles. Now click the drop down, click the value field setting. Now I want to count, I want to do distinct count, guys. But looking at this, there's no distinct count here. That means you did not add it to the what? To the data module. For you to do distinct counts, you have to add it to the data module. Now, do you understand that point? For you to do a distinct count, you have to add it to a data module. Oh, good. Wait, everybody understand. So now, looking at this, I can actually say we have 32 job titles. So I've answered that question. So return the top 5 job titles in the company. Top 5 job titles. That should be what we did earlier. So just drag down your title here, then I can see top 5 job titles. Now you have to sort this one. Right click on the numerical value, then sort it from largest to smallest. Now I want to return the top 5, right? You can actually see it here. Distance counts. Yeah. Assuming there is distance counts here, you can actually see distance counts here. I just remember now. You can actually see, can you see? You can see distance counts here. Okay. Once you return the top 5 values, now this is the technician. We already know these are the job titles we have in our company. Now I want to return the most the title that has the most employee, the top 5 titles that have the most employee. Now looking at this visually, I can see that we have production technician 2, area sales manager, production manager, and software engineer, right? So if I should actually do something like maybe I go to my insert tab, then I click on my this one. Now look at how this looks like. Um, let me reduce the size. We will come back to this later. Let me. So now let's reduce this one to top 5. So I'll just right click on the numerical data. That's happening. Right click on the numerical data, then you can see show value as. You show value as. No, it should be here. It should be in the structure. My God.
So let's
It's
try
on
the
the
move
road.
option.
I saw it just now.
Okay.
It's on the second one he did,
Hello.
not on the numeric.
Well, oh yeah, filter. Sorry. GV and filter. Thank you. Top 10. Well, I want to show my top 5, right? By count 30. Okay. Now, now look at how this one looks like. And I want to draw another one. I want to draw another one. So basically, they are the same thing. I feel like I should use another page now. So what I did here is I limit this one to top 5, right? And I actually did everything here. So I sort this one from largest to smallest. Then I actually put everything on my chart. Just simple bar graph. Now looking at this one and look at this one. This is the top 5. This is everything. And I can see that even from this side, from after this shared service, I can't see any bar graph again, right? And this one, it looks like this one is very much like all of them are even little. Like the representation of this one does not visually represent everything. In case like this, when you have different values, you have a lot of values to show. You only have to show like maybe the top 5, top 10, and maybe the bottom 5, the bottom 10. Nobody is interested in what is in the middle unless if it is asked for, right? Looking at this one now, I can actually see that okay, my software engineer is around that 200. But looking at this, even though you can actually see the software engineer is looking at is around 200, it's still like jam pack. It's still shouting. We call it shouting. It is making a lot of noise. There's a lot of noise in this stats, right? This one looks, you can actually see, even if you are visually impaired, you can know that okay, this thing is bigger, this thing is bigger. But looking at this one from this side, from this network engineer so down, it looks like everything is the same. But look, if you actually return it in bit by bit, you actually get the visual representation better. You understand what I'm trying to say? So that's it. So I'm not going to visualization today. So what's next to me? How many supervisors and the company? Now, how can I count the supervisors? Now, remember that this is the one I did distance data model. I just like naming it. Before, right? So good. Um, this is the pivot table I do with data. Now, looking at this data, now we want to count how many supervisors do we have. Wait. Now, can you tell me what data column will I actually extract the supervisor value from? Now, let's do it again. Yeah, tell me when to stop so I can know when to stop. Are we there?
Plus the column class.
What's it? What's it? Sorry.
I they try to move up so you can see the column letters.
I should move forward, right?
Upward, upward. So there is column, I mean supervisor
Upward.
column, but I want to
Oh,
put
okay.
letters so that I can
Okay. Okay, let's start again. Can you see anything? Okay. In case you are with if you actually see it, you have a supervisor column, right? And you can actually get your supervisor value. Supervisor yeah, column G, yeah, column G. So you can actually get your supervisor information. Now, do you think we are doing distinct counts or we are doing counts? What's the difference between the two? So let me tell you the difference. Now I want to count this one. Are they, then you have shared, then you have Shola. So if I'm doing counts, if I'm doing distinct counts, so because I can see four people here, count is returning four. Distinct count means that okay, this one, because they are the same, I'm counting them as one. These two, these three. That means you have three people here. So in case like this, when you want to count something like okay, they can be repetition. There's high case that they can be repetition. Because it is supervisor, because this thing is a supervisor, there's high case that they will be supervisor will not be supervising only one person. Like you have like supervisor, one supervisor for like 30 students, especially if you are doing your final year, you not expect you to have one supervisor, one final year student. You're expected to have one supervisor, maybe one supervisor, like 30 students or 10 students or something like that. So in case like this where you think that okay there might be repetition, it is actually better for you to use distinct counts. I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. It's better to use distinct counts in that type of stuff. So now going to our sheet, going to our data model. Now I already know that this pivot table, when I was creating it, I had add to data model, right? And that's why I named it data model. I check I checked the data model box. I already know that this pivot table it has data it is connected to its data module and I can actually see my um distinct count feature in it. So I can just copy this one, paste it on another place, Control V, then I want my supervisor, I can just pick this one out. So supervisor, then put it there. So it is giving me count of supervisor. Like all the supervisor is giving me 3,000. But if I actually count the distinctly, how many supervisors there are? So by just going somewhere around there, I can see my distinct count. Click on OK, then I can actually see that we have 2,953 supervisors. That means we have 2,953 different people. Even though some supervisor, because there are 3,000 employees, that means that some supervisors will have maybe what do you call it? Will have supervised at least like one or two employees. You understand what I'm trying to say? They will have supervised like one, two employees. You understand? Okay, I hope so. Please, if you don't understand, please just ask the question. Because you're already going to the analysis part now. Next class like this, you're already doing a full project. So let's be very. So what's the next question? Hmm. So I can say how many supervisors are in the company. I can say you have 2,953 supervisors. Now calculate the percentage of employee status. What is employee status? Looking at my data, then employee status this one. So I want to look at okay percentage of this thing. So this one is simple. Go to my this one, copy any Ctrl C, Ctrl V. This is just like a shortcut. You already know the long process, right? Just click on this employee data, do control, go to the insert tab, go to pivot table. Is it new worksheet? No, I want it on my pivot table. Click on existing worksheet, all the worksheets, my pivot table, and I want the new worksheet somewhere around here. So then you click on if you are not checking this out data module, you will know that you cannot find the distinct count picture there. Okay, maybe I don't want 16 counts, right? I'm not checking it, so I just click on OK. So and I can see new power studio. But I can easily just copy Ctrl C, Ctrl V. Then I can actually just if I click on this one, I can just do this one. Then here, what is this? So in case it is giving you an error message, Just provide it with what you want. What do you want? What I want to do? What is the question? I think he's asking for what's the question? Calculate the employee status. So I already know that under my employee status, um, under my employee status, now if I should ask, I can actually drag this one out. Right? So these are my employee status. Now I want to count how many employee do I have, right? So I will drag this employee again inside my value. Now, but what we are required to do is that they said calculate the percentage of employee status. But now, under my pivot table, I can only see the number. Now I can also click on this drop down. Clicking on this drop down, going to my value field setting. Okay, do you want to count this one? You want to count? No, I don't want to count. Maybe I want to do the average. I can actually do the average. But if I want to do the max, I can click the max. If I want to click the min, if I want to check the minimum number, which will be returning determined for cost only, I can click it. There are different things we can do here. It is the VAR, which is the variance. It is the standard deviation, which is the STD. Then what I actually want now is I want this one to be in percentage. I want this one to be in 82%, this one to be like 12%, something like that. So instead of summarize the value by, it should not be summarize the value as what? Clicking at this drop down, I can see you have grant to percentage, column to something over to. But looking at this one, it should actually be the column to, I guess, or it is rotation. Oh, I think no, we shouldn't do this one. Should be count, then show value as I guess I should be writing okay. So how do I know that I was wrong? So when I show the value as this one, I can actually see we have no calculation that is only return the count. But in this case, I want a calculation. Now we have percentage of the grant total. That means that this number, which was maybe 2,500 and something over 3,000, it will still give us the same thing. If I actually click on this one, it is still giving the same stuff. Right? You can just maneuver your way. In the statistics, it depends on how much you know mathematics. No, it doesn't depend. It just depends on normal thing. Because now, percentage of grand total, it means that okay, what you get over the grand total, yeah, and that's how to get percentage. Okay? And we actually did it with and the other time where I got 82%. Right? If it is column total, that means that the column, this is column J, right? So what's the column total? That will be 100%. Right? So for us to get 100%, calculate this one in percentage that if I actually add all my 100%, all my values, it should give us what 100%. So that's column total. Row total, assuming this one now it will return an error because what do you call it? Not perform arithmetic operation on row. So it is either you use grand total or use column total. So in this case, I just want to use my column total, then I can just click on OK, then I'm getting the answer. Now I can see that okay, the the people that are terminated so far, they are just leave of absence. That means at least you are not maybe leave of absence. I actually don't know what that means, but I'm guessing it's just people. Hello, who's there? So in this case, I can say leave of absence. In this case, I can say it is just people that are still a worker. Maybe they just went for a leave, right? So I will still say these three people here, these three stuff that are still my employee. Maybe this terminated and voluntarily terminated are the people that has actually terminated their employee status. So I can just looking at this, I can say only 13% because 10.7 plus 2% plus 2.2 should be like 11 points. And no, should be like 12.9%. Let's round it off to 13%. That means 13% employee so far from the inception of the company has actually terminated their contract. So if 13% has terminated their contract, that means you have like 80, what is that? 80, 80, 87% of employee. I can retain my 87% employee, and that means my company is doing so well. Imagine I can only retain 45% employee. You know that okay, something is actually going on, and urgent thing needs to be done to rescue the company. You understand? That's basically how to use the pivot table. That's how to use the what do you call it? That's how to use the pivot table. That's how to use to get information basically. So I guess you are done for today's class. How should I introduce this one? Now, do you have any question? Let me take question before I introduce it to class. We need to do introduction to the meeting. Do you have any question? Anybody? Do you all understand the class? Please, can you just use your mic or something? Sorry. Okay. Some people are asking now. Okay, can you come back again? Where how I got this one? Is that how I got this one? Okay. Let me get back again. So I have another pivot table. So let me just choose a new sheet. So where's the new sheet? Sheet 7. Let me just name it now. So I don't want to because I have sheets 1, which is the question. Right? So I have the question. I have the new sheet here. So I want to do pivot table, right? So I can just click on this one, Control A, and start. What do I want? I want pivot table. Is it new worksheet? Because I've actually created the worksheet, so it is existing worksheet. So then let me just add it to that. I don't think I'll be using that. Okay, I not actually provide any location. So my location, new sheet, I want it to be here. So I can see my private table here. So what I actually did here last time was employee title. So yeah, now I can see them in rows. But what I need is values. Now I can see we have accountant. This one, the sorting it alphabetically. But in this case, I want this one to be the highest number of titles to be at the top. So I just like click on the numerical data set, click on sort, click on the largest to smallest. Then I can see my stuff. It's rearranged. It's rearranged from being alphabetical order here, but it's now laid emphasis on this kind of typing. Now I can see you have this one. I can see you have production technician, which is 1321 production technician. Now I only need top 5 typing. I guess I'm doing this in the right age. Oh God, I'm in class now. Hello. Please come in. Okay. So um so I can just doing this one. Actually, the question was asking for taxes, status instead of title. Is employee status. Let me just tell you again. I still the same thing. Now let me use the title so you can see how I maneuver it. So I can get the percentage now. I can just get the percentage here. So instead of counts, I don't want it to count. I want to know how many accountants. This 33%. How many percentage does it make in my own employee percent? For you to have a total percent, the total percent is usually 100. So now the total number of employee that I have is 3,000. Remember, it is 3,000, right? So this one is what 33. Now if you do 33, we do 33 over 3,000. I know, I hope everybody know why I wrote equals to that. So I can see it is 0.11. If I actually convert this one to anything, that means if I have 4 accountants, the 33 people only makes up 1% of my total employee. So instead of me doing something like this, I want to actually automate this thing. I can actually click on this one, click on my count of typing. Now I don't want the count of typing. I want it in percentage. So click on my value field setting. Now summarize the value by count. I don't want to sum either. I only want to count. But show the value as what? As percentage. Then I click on OK. And I can see it is giving me 1%, which is if I actually do something like this, if I increase the decimal point of this one, I can actually see that this one is actually 1%. Just because it's the same thing. Now I can actually see that okay, this thing is actually 1%, right? So that's exactly how what we are doing there is that okay, they can say okay, account this accountant makes up only 1% of my total employee. This one makes up my 9% or maybe 10% of my total employee. You can actually format this site. Maybe I'll just change them to O number. Now you can format it normally. How would you format numbers? And change it to a number and should you have it. So are we changing the percentage to a number or leave it at zero? It depends on you. You can decide to leave it. You can decide to not leave it. It depends on what the person is asking also. So where's that the question? Where's that the question? Can I move on? Okay. Okay, great. So now let's do something about um this one about charts because we're almost at the point where we actually get insights where you can actually derive what is it where you can actually derive information from where you can actually make decision from data sets. And looking at this is a function, this is a data set, this is a pivot table, right? Now I want to know what data where are we getting what do you call it? Okay, before I move on, I want to say something. We have recommended pivot table. Now this one is just showing sorry. So looking at this recommended table, it is showing me different things I can use. It is showing me that okay, what if you use row label against sum of location code? Even though this does not make any sense, but at least sometimes it does make sense actually. It does make sense. So you can just to get some insights too. So anyway, does this one does not make sense. I mean, why is it summing location codes? But sometimes it does. You can just check it out sometimes. It does make sense. Now looking at this one, the time, I can actually say that okay, looking at this, if you are working as a full time, if you are working as a temporary staff, you get more rating than if you are working as a full time. So sometimes you can get insights from this recommended pivot table too. So I just feel like today's one is just employee rating. Either way, did not sum up with this one is not a good example. Maybe tomorrow. Well, okay, what I was trying to explain is pivot table. Now we have charts here. Basically, after analyzing the data, the first thing is gathering the data, which is the data source. Right? Then the next thing is cleaning the data, which we have been doing for a long time. Then the next thing is analyzing the data. We started yesterday with some advanced functions such as index, lookup, value, like H lookup, V lookup, X lookup. Then the next thing after that one is we did pivot table. Now we can actually see that we got some insights and we made some decision from from pivot table. Now the next thing after analyzing the data is the next thing is visualization, visualizing the data. So that's the next thing. Now if I click on this one, and I click on my recommended chart, let me if I actually click on recommended chart, now Excel is telling me with its intelligence that okay, what if you use this type of chat? But you can decide to use the type of chat you want. But it depends on what you are working on, especially when you are working with date column or you are working with something related to date, something like month, year, date, use line, you use line chat. We actually delve more into chat tomorrow now because we still have time today. That's why I'm just like then you should do one or two about chat. So we actually when you are using something related to chat, you actually use chat, you actually use stuff like this. Then you just click on OK. Then looking like this, I can actually see that okay, you actually have you actually have um the highest points. If you click on this point, if you click on this point, this chart, like click on this chart, click on this point, and if I actually click on this, where is it? What do you call the name? Oh, don't let me say this one today. Let me say it. Okay. And let's move initially, like small. So now looking at this chart, we can see that okay, it's either we have the most. I want to start it. Okay, December, March. Even though it did not look different, in a way, it does not actually represent that. Okay, December is actually higher than. It's actually higher than. It's actually higher than. What do you call it? Oh, December. It looks almost the same. Anyway, there's a way to December looks higher than March. Then after March you can see you have this particular stuff, which is July. Then looking at this, these are our lowest points. This is June. So what if you want to make a decision from this one, what do you think happened? Now in December you employed a lot of stuff, a lot of employment. Now especially if you want to do new year dispensation and what do you call it? So please can someone tell me the English? If you want to if you want to enter new year, you write your goals. They usually call it one type of English on this. New Year's resolution, whatever time. New Year resolution. Because you are doing the New Year resolution, you're already preparing for maybe the year 2026. So there's a high probability that okay, or especially if you sign a contract with a company, most of the contract ends at the end of the year. So for you to get a new job, it's either you get the new job that around that September, October, so you can actually prepare for the new year, right? So in the case you be like, okay, maybe that's exactly what's happening, and that's why you get a lot of patience. And as a company, you already know that you are preparing for the new year. You employ more you employ more employees to your company so that ahead of the new year, ahead of the 2026 project, you have to know that okay, I need 80 employees more ahead of my 2026 project. This is what I want to achieve in 2026. So that's exactly why we think that okay, that's why they have better stuff here. So why do you have the lowest in June? By this time you'll be like, okay, maybe we not employ a lot of people here. Maybe because we lay off. Yeah, we usually do mid year layoff. Maybe we lay off a lot of employees, and now we actually by July we actually what do you call it? We employ new ones that are better. You understand? So something like this, it just depends on the industry you are working in. It depends on industry you are working in. You already know them as a data analyst. If you are working in Unilag, you already know some things that are not open to students that are living in LATEX. Now in LATEX, and this is actually a real factor. In LATEX, you already know that the robbery rate is high. So as someone schooling in Unilag, you don't know that fact. But the students there, you didn't know that okay, there's high robbery rate. You know, something like that. So if you see a lot of students leaving LATEX to Unilag, but you as a Unilag student, you will think that okay, one of the factors that can cause this is because there's high robbery rates. So that's one of the things. If you actually work with a company, you know their what do you call it? You know their norms and what could have happened to make everything go wrong. So That's how to make a decision from chart, looking at the chart, right? I hope you understand. Can I move on there? Okay. So, let's go. Let's go again. Okay, I'm not clicking on anything. So this one is also easier. So I'll just click on my chart, go to my line charts. Then looking at this, I can say a lot of things about this one. Now, this is a company. As a company, you expect yourself. Now let's even make a decision. Now, this one, I want to add my 2023. And where is the job? How can I get the job? Okay, someone has to want to ask a question. See before there's no time.
Yeah, fine. Does the chat style depends on what kind of data we are working with, or it depends on us?
Sorry, I can barely hear you. Sorry, I cannot hear the question you asked the other time. I guess you know it better now. So you can just start it. So in this case, as a company, you want your company to elevate in status. Does that style? Yeah, it depends on the data. Like I said, tomorrow we'll be going deeper inside the chat style, when and where to use different class, different visuals tomorrow. But today I'm just giving us an introduction about what we are doing. Normally we are supposed to create only pivot table today, and that's why on my stuff you can only see pivot table. So So yeah, as a company, you are growing every year. You want to grow every year. So looking at this, you can see on 2018 when we start, we grew a lot in 2019. We maintained it in 2020. We grew in 2022. But suddenly there's a student draft. What could have happened? Do we lost money? Do we went backwards? There's a lot of questions you just want to answer here. Or is the data not complete? I want to do something. How do I do it? I don't want to go to other stores to explain it tomorrow. Okay, in this case, you already know that okay, there's actually something that's happening in this particular 2022 to 2023. Then this one, if you not actually get the answer, you can meet the HR. Okay, what exactly is happening? But you as the HR, you should know that okay, the company is going bankrupt. Then you can call the CEO that okay, I've seen that in 2023 with layoff as many employees as we had when we started the company in 2018. Now they be like, okay, what do you think? What do you think caused it? You as a person working there, you'll be like, okay, maybe because of the automation, the technological automation, maybe there's introduction of AI into the company. I know when there's AI into the company, where 20 people works, it's one people can just work with the AI and you understand 19 people has to do. So maybe something like that has happened, something like that. So you have to know what exactly caused this drastic situation. It's just that like all of them voluntarily leave between 2022 to 2023. If that's the case, then definitely something is wrong. Does that mean that the current pay or the current work environment is not favorable anymore? So all those kind of questions, you making insights, you making decisions just from looking at the chart, and that's exactly what the data analyst is doing. Now, do you understand that thing? Do you understand? No, only one person, two, or three, four, four. You can do better. Good. So let's move on. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Amanda. Um, okay. So I want to I think I did a lot. So I actually did not do a lot. Okay, maybe tomorrow, shall we'll go deeper, do a lot of stuff. Yes. Something like this now. It's better to return them in batch chats. So I can just do the batch chats. And looking at something like this, when you have a graph and you have the bigger one, then you have the smaller, then you have the bigger one. So in this kind of graph, there's no look professional. For it to look professional, you have to actually sort it. Now you have to know that okay, this is the biggest, then follow that the second biggest. You understand? You have to sort this one. If I actually sort this one now notice this voluntarily terminated. If I sort this one from largest to smallest now I can see that now I can have my from the biggest to the smallest now. So in case like this, because I not actually remove the blank space, and that's why it is showing my plan what do you call it? And that's why it is showing in my graphs. So in my visual, so you have to clean data before you can actually work with it. I hope you all know the importance of data cleaning. You have to clean your data so that this blank will not, because this blank is not representing any information, it's just making noise. We usually call it noise, it is shouting. Yes, that's it exactly because it's so useless. And now you can see that we have voluntarily terminated, we have leave of absence, future start, something like this. I can see that okay, the most my employee most of my employees are active, and a lot of people have voluntarily terminated. And all this stuff. And then what else? What is the Okay, let me just say a little about this one too. When you click on this one, you'll see a plus sign there. Now, what do we need? Now, to make this chart looks better, it is the employee data now. We've worked with this, we've even cleaned it. It was the class 3 and class 4 data I'm using. Do you understand now? It's the same data set that we've been using since this. It's not a new data set. It's the employee data I uploaded on the drive for class 3 and class 4. It's still the same thing we are using now. You understand? Okay. So for this one, if I click the plus sign, I can see we have some chat elements. Now, if I click on the data labels, I can see that I can actually have my data labels on top of it. Now, in case like this, that means we want to make this chart looks professional, right? We don't need the axis because the importance of this axis is that okay, this thing it is like 2.5. You already know that the estimated value is 2.5. But in case like you don't want the estimated value, you want the real value that oh my god. So in case like this, you want the real values. So when you actually click on the data labels to show, you can see that okay, this active actually has 240 58, right? Then voluntarily terminated, you have 321. Then in case like this, you can actually know that I don't need this one. These are the values I actually need. So this one is now as we call it is now we call it shouting. This one is now shouting because it is not needed. It is unnecessary in this type of stuff. So you just click this axis off, right? So if you actually click this axis off, now you've deleted this one. Now I don't know what this one is representing. Maybe it's the axis, maybe it's the stuff. So I have to click on my data axis again, but I don't want this one. You can just literally click on this one, on this y-axis, then delete it. Now this grid line is not doing anything. Delete it. They are shouting. So these employee stuff, they are not doing anything. Right click, remove feed. You can just say hide all feed value. Now it is looking good. This total too, you don't need it, delete it. Now it is looking good. Assuming this one has not been there, this one has been looking better. Now you can just change your stuff to this chart. You can just change it to employee absence. So and there we have it. This is a chart. Even though it can be formatted data, but let's talk there for now. Even though when you click on this one, you can change the color of the bars. Change the color of the bars to the color. The color of the bus is solid green. And unlike red, I want it to be yellow. You know, something like this. You can do a lot of stuff. You can do a lot of stuff with this phone, like a lot of stuff. So basically, you can see there's difference between this one now. Looks better in a way than this one. Where's the other one? Where's the other part we take it? Now looking at this, which one looks more professional? Now looking at this, we're looking at okay, this one looks more professional than this one, right? So in a case, even though this one can actually be represented in this way, even formatted better than this one, it is how we actually do data analysis and the visualization part. So I guess we'll be stopping here for today. And the day we actually go to, we'll be doing our today we'll be discussing the data visualization. I hope you already have the background knowledge. So we'll build on this, then we'll go as fast as possible to the advanced visualization as promised. Now, I guess you don't have any question. So can we end the class? Any question? Any question? Anyone with any question? Oh, thank you guys. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Okay. All right, thank you, Alex. Okay. I think we'll call it a day for today. Okay. Thank you so much, guys. See you guys later. Bye. Ah, thank you. Thank you. Bye bye.